Most coaches agree that scanning is one of the most important skills in soccer. The best players in the world, from Xavi to Kevin De Bruyne, are constantly checking their surrounding before the ball even arrives. But here's the challenge. How do we actually train this skill so it becomes a natural instinct, not a forced behavior? A lot of drills you'll find out there ask people to do things like call out the color of a cone or shout out a number that a coach is holding up. While those exercises might develop the vision and the decision on which color or number is there, that doesn't really happen in a game. So no soccer vision and soccer context is developed. In a real match, nobody is asking you to yell colors. You're reacting to space, pressure, and movement. That's why in this video, I'm going to share drills that are as close to the game as possible. And if an exercise isn't completely realistic, I'll point out exactly what's missing and how it connects back to the real game. The goal is to train scanning and reactions so that players develop it as a natural instinct, something automatic, just like you're tying your shoes, and not something robotic or unnatural. We'll start with no opponent drill. These are great as a first or second drill of practice for players to get touches and get some muscle activation. Firstly, a simple passing drill with only one touch passing. On two sides, there are passers with a ball. In the middle is the receiver with one touch passes returning the balls. However, there are three gates built with cones, and the passers aim to pass these balls into one of them. The player in the middle will need to react quickly, often scanning at the same time as passing the ball. The downside is that there is not too much decision making they practice there. However, overall, a decent drill for quick movement and getting touches on the ball. Make a competition on which group of three gets to 50 passes first. The second drill is what I often do before games, especially when the space for warm-up is limited. Two groups of players face each other, where the player receiving the ball checks over their shoulder and goes through the gate that is free. The player behind them helps by occupying one of the gates when the ball is passed. It's a warm-up and no contact drill, but it encourages decision-making and quick reaction as well as first touch development. Okay, enough with no defender drills. Let's look at a simple game. There is a square with a player in the middle receiving the ball. Their objective is to score on one of the small goals on the side of the square. Defenders are standing in the corners of the square, but can start pressing as soon as the ball is played inside the square. I usually organize with 3 defenders and run it for about 45 seconds. You will need 5 players that will rotate their roles as passer, receiver, and defenders. Make sure all of them get to experience all of these roles. However, we can make even this drill a little bit more game-like. It looks like the targets are not moving in this drill. Instead, I like to get players to be the targets so that they are moving too, and the scanning is there. You can help this with a similar 45-second interval, or the flow can be simple, where the passer can take the receiver's spot and vice versa. This means that the 5 players in possession keep taking each other's places, and eventually you'll need to swap the defenders to be in position. The next level is to put this in context. Let's get some of my favorite rondos. You can set a simple 7v3 rondo where one of the players is actually playing like a center midfielder. If it's too hard for the player in possession, set one of the defenders to freely float between the two sides, while the other two are set in their own halves. The players will help both keep possession, but also keep working to move the ball from the 4v2 rondo to the 4v1 rondo, and move it back when the defender moves. When I want to have even more fun with my players, I set 2 rondos adjacent to each other. Depending on the level, they can be 4v1 or 4v2. However, they will share one attacking player between them on the adjacent side. This will need to bounce between the 2 games. The realistic aspect of this is that the player communication that happens in games is not to just see each other, but to understand if the teammate is available and how they want the ball, on the front foot, back foot, and so forth. Kids love to be in that position that definitely overloads them mentally by working double duty. They will practice a lot of scanning and quick decision and movement, but also body positioning that will help them scan better. They will often face the ball sideways so they can see both fields. but once they receive the ball, they will face on the helping side. These drills got almost to the end. Let's add goals and add direction to our scanning drills. The first drill is a 3v3 plus 3 and goalkeeper in the penalty box. In the penalty box, we have a simple 3v3. On the edges of the penalty box, we have neutrals that can act as the support players, but cannot come into the box. If possession changes, a neutral has to receive the ball before proceeding. We will also add a goalkeeper and add a fun element of scoring. You can also make the box to be 4v4 instead of 3v3. The important part is for both the attackers and defenders to see the neutrals rather than ignore them when attacking or booting the ball when defending. The final drill is similar to the previous one, but it's the classic overload of 8v6 on half of the field. We will give clear instructions to the team to use the width of the field and switch plays, creating a 1v1 or 2v1 on one side and attack. But if it becomes too crowded, find a way to switch it to the other side. As you can see, it's not the setup that determines everything. You can use the same setup to practice crossing or shooting from distance. The setup is just the first step of having a good session. The coaching points, the questions, and the advice is there for the true coaching happens. Thank you for watching and see you in the next one.